Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CDL podcast channel. In this episode today, you know what time it is. It's time to predict a bracket for the major. If you guys enjoy this one, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. If you're on the audio platforms, drop a follow, drop a 5-star review. We're going to talk about some of the matches from this past weekend, but to be honest, a lot of the matches were a lot of bottom teams playing other bottom teams. So we're going to probably brush over those pretty quick and mostly just spend this episode just talking about predictions for the major and what we see upcoming. Probably a 4-horse race, but you never know. Some teams outside the top 4 are looking a little bit better. As of the time of us starting recording, Brock and I have a pretty set window where we record the podcast, and somehow the CDL just keeps getting lazier and lazier. They still, over 24 hours after the bracket being set, somehow do not have a bracket out to make predictions on. So I don't know if we'll have the video component we normally do for the bracket predictions out, unless it comes out in like the next 15-20 minutes while we're talking about matches. Either way, we'll have the bracket up on the screen. We'll be talking about it a little bit here and there. So without further ado, let's just jump into this one. Brock, how you doing today?
Oh, I wish the bracket was out, like you said, doing good. Excited for the major this weekend, kind of sick and tired of these qualifiers, you'd say.
Yeah, it's been too long since we had a major.
Yeah, it gets boring after a while, these qualifiers, And, doing good. Yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this major as well because I feel like in terms of the Modern Warfare 3 season, this is about as much parity as we can have heading into a major. I mean, it's pretty hard to imagine a situation where anything other than 4 teams could win a major this year.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't picture a world where we're not going into a major picking Faze, Toronto, OpTic, or NYSL. Those are it's kind of a 4-horse race, and maybe somebody could upset someone to make a top 4 run, but pretty hard to imagine any team besides those 4 winning. I will say, though, this seems like maybe the most question mark I have amongst who could win in the top 4. Because last event going into it, Ultra did look very good, and I feel like FaZe were the other pick. Everybody kind of had those 2 above NYSL and OpTic for the most part. Those were the 2 hot picks. And this time OpTic is 7-0, but it's still OpTic, and how much do we trust them? NYSL looks very good, but they bottomed out the last major, and then FaZe and Ultra lost a couple matches each. So, especially with FaZe losing to LAG, we'll talk about that. I don't know. It just seems like there's a little bit more questions among the top 4. I mean, I think we all figure one of those 4 will win, but crazy things have happened. I mean, we went to Major 2 and saw LAG win in Vanguard. So,
Yep. I would not be shocked if I saw, Vegas come out somehow on top.
to be honest with you, I hope Vegas does come out on top. I strongly doubt they do, but you know what? I hope they come out on top. I still don't think they've ever won a winners bracket match as a franchise in the actual major era, not counting home series.
Yeah. At least, they did pretty good this split.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's get into some of the matches. So this past weekend, like I said, I don't know if there's too many matches I really want to talk about from the early days. I mean, because Legion is one of our teams to watch going into this weekend, I guess we can talk about their Friday match against Seattle. They win 3-1. They do end up dropping the Search and Destroy on Invasion in around 11. The story of this series, to me, though, Purge, probably the best series we've seen him play numbers-wise. Granted, it is against who is clearly our worst team in Seattle. I mean, these guys are horrible. We'll touch on them maybe when we talk about their final match, but these guys are horrible. However, it's nice to see Purge have a series where he's, out there getting some kills, putting up some numbers, putting up some damage, and actually outplayed Nero, which is shocking because Nero obviously has been very good this year. And Dylan Attach just continues to get it done. This Vegas Legion team, I think, despite, their 2 wins this week are not that impressive. They beat Carolina and Seattle Surge. However, they go 5-2 in the split. I do think, you can tell me if you disagree, but I think Vegas has pretty firmly planted themselves for now as our 5th team. They're still steps and steps and steps below the top 4, but they're probably our 5th team right
now. Yeah, they are definitely the 5th team right now, and I would not guess that at the beginning of the year.
No, especially with the Purge change, it didn't seem to be working. And like we said, they did have an easy schedule. We said before this split that this was a chance for Vegas to really make up some points and get themselves into contention for champs and put themselves in a decent spot. I know we talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
We said they have a pretty easy schedule. They play teams like Carolina, like Seattle. They had some earlier matches like LAT, who they ended up losing to, but LAT coming to this split looked like a very winnable match.
Mhm.
They even played Boston earlier in this. They beat them. Another match that we figured would be pretty winnable. They played Toronto, obviously a very tough one, and they played them. They played them pretty tough. They beat Miami, but like Vegas Legion's wins in the major two qualifiers here, just going through them, they beat LAG, they beat Miami, they lost to Toronto, they beat the Breach, they lost to LAT, and then they beat Seattle and Carolina. So like I don't even know what you consider the most impressive win. Carolina is bad, Seattle's bad, Miami's bad. Their most impressive win is probably a win over Boston, who is not very
Uh,
good. Probably. I mean, Boston's better than
yeah.
Miami, Carolina, um, and
LAG.
LAG and Surge. Yeah. So as
Yeah.
funny as it sounds, like they beat like literally our bottom four teams, and then Boston was like the team that's maybe like eighth that they beat. So no like crazy impressive wins, but still like they're at least separating themselves and beating all the other bottom teams and doing it pretty handily.
Mhm.
So like the only other argument I feel like you can make with them right now is LAT, who had some nice wins
Yeah.
in this split, and they did beat Vegas. So maybe you could make an argument for LAT being fifth, but Vegas Legion is firmly planted in like our top six right now.
Yep. And they did I believe they lost to Toronto, but I think it was 3-0, no, 3-1, but they're all close maps.
Yeah, they played that series competitively, and I remember that series too. They like on some of those maps, they kind of threw advantages. Like they had legit chances to win. I remember it was like a Rio Hardpoint map won it. They had a legit chance to win it.
Yep. Because I know
They're a solid team right now. They're certainly nowhere close to the top four, but they are the team that you look at and you're like, okay, they do have a little upset potential if everything goes right.
Yep. The only thing I fear is if Dylan Attach can keep it up throughout the rest of the year, which is like he's put up crazy numbers right now.
Yeah, he's playing very, very well.
Yeah. So other than
Um,
that, excited to see this Legion team and Purge,
yeah,
doing a lot better recently.
I
Yeah,
feel
they
like they
do
got
in
a
the
tough
major.
draw. Yeah, I feel like they got a tough draw too. They end up playing Toronto
Yeah.
in the major, which is a very tough draw. But I mean, let's be honest, when the top four actually do end up getting the top four seeds, which got a little scary there for a second because Vegas did tie with Faze and Toronto in records. There was never in jeopardy of Faze, but they were a little closer in map count to Toronto. So
Hmm.
Vegas did tie Toronto's record, but the map count was worse, so they do end up getting the 5 seed. Uh, it is a little sucky for Vegas because really, no matter where you go, you're going to get a tough match when the top four do get the top four seeds. I mean, you're going to go to NYSL, OpTic, Faze, or Toronto. Like, no matter what, you're going to get a really tough draw. They got Toronto, and they probably honestly got the worst draw they could possibly get.
Hmm.
Toronto, and then if they win, they probably play OpTic. Um, Although I don't really know that there's like a draw that you'd say is definitely the best because all these teams are so good right now. Like NYSL Faze, if you would have drawn them, you'd also hate it. They're very good.
Yeah, top overall, like you said, with the top four being so damn good.
I will say though, like I wish Breaking Point doesn't have the team stats up at this point. Like it's just this coming soon for like this entire season. I do feel like Toronto lately has struggled a little bit in Search and Destroy compared to what we're used to. Like even against LAT, they beat them 3-1, but they lost the Search.
Hmm.
And then before that, when they played against OpTic, they lost two searches. And they lost 12-1 in those searches. They've been struggling in Search and Destroy, and Vegas can be pretty strong in Search and Destroy at times. Uh, so there's a recipe for success there for Vegas. Like Toronto is a beatable team for them, as weird as it sounds.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. I feel like Toronto sometimes, they're not always kind of thrown in it, not really in the game.
Yeah, and they could have been trying maps and trying new strats because, like, once again, am I going to pick Legion to beat Toronto? Probably not. But at the same time, like, all we have to go off right now is online matches. So, like, we can sit here and say, like, they might be testing stuff out, they might be trolling as much as we want, but all we do have to go off of is online matches. And that's what we have to analyze off. And right now, Toronto has looked weaker than they did coming out of the major, which, I mean, it's harder to look stronger than they did because they looked incredible
Hmm.
coming out of major one. But I don't know. They've shown cracks, especially in Search and Destroy, and that's something that Vegas could potentially take advantage of. But then if Vegas wins, they got to beat OpTic, so it's a tough road for them.
Yeah, so, but like Lan, like LAG did in Major 2 when we were there. Any given day.
Yep. Any given day on land, I guess, especially when you've got some vet players like Dylan Attach.
Mm-hmm. Should be
Um,
excited.
yeah. On Saturday, then, I mean, LAT took out LAG. Not much to talk about in that match. Saturday, Vegas took out Carolina 3-0. Carolina is just, they're just not it right now.
I
And
will say,
then,
the Thieves did, win the battle of LA this time
yeah,
around.
finally, it should be
Uh-huh.
a talking point, but I guess it is because, yeah, they can't beat LAG usually.
Yep. And
Um,
like you said, yeah, Vegas pretty much curb stomp, you know, Roll Ravens. Roll Ravens bad on, online, but land. I trust those players.
yeah, you trust them, but like at the same time, they do get a decent draw because I feel like they're probably going to end up playing Miami, who's like the most desirable team to play coming down from the winners bracket. So Carolina maybe has a chance to win a series or two, but yes, you don't mind having these players in your team because they can play okay on land, but also like you got to win online matches in today's current format. Like you got to be able to win online matches, and this team just can't do that right now. Carolina
Mm-hmm.
is in a rough spot.
Yeah.
Then the other matches on Saturday, Minnesota just lose a heartbreaker because they probably do get the eighth seed with a win in this match, I believe, over Heretics, and they somehow get 3-0'd. Big Wake, another 0.7. Just overall, Linz didn't have a pop off series like we're used to him having. They just got stomped by Heretics, which is horrible to see because Heretics are terrible. So this is
Yep.
not what we like to see from Rocker. They had a golden opportunity to have a terrible stage and still come out in the winners bracket and have a chance to pull off some upsets. But the script was too strong. Name a better duo than Florida Mutineers or Miami Heretics matching up with OpTic in round one.
Uh-huh.
They always find a way to find them in round one.
Yep. Man, it might be a time for roster change with Minnesota.
Yeah, we've been calling for the big wake for a heavier slaying flex, and I think this team could find a fix.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, tough break for Rocker. They had a chance to potentially actually somehow scrape winners bracket out of this stage, and they just couldn't get it done.
Yep.
Then Toronto versus LAT. LAT takes just the search and destroy off Toronto, like we mentioned earlier. They kind of get handled enough in the hard points and the respawns overall. It was a pretty clean showing from Toronto. They kind of showed us, hey, like people might be writing us off a little bit, like knocking us down because we did lose to OpTic, we did lose to Faze, the other top teams, but Toronto, and especially in the respawns in this series, kind of showed us like, hey, don't forget about us. We're pretty damn good. I mean, everybody
Yeah.
in the team basically had a 1.2 or better.
Mm-hmm. Not shocked there.
No, not at all. Then Sunday, a shocker did happen. Atlanta Faze falls to LAG. Now, they were definitely testing maps, and they need to realize that Subbase needs to go back in the vault for them. They are horrible at Subbase.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
They lose the high rise search. LAG played that one pretty well. Then they end up forcing the game 5. They look really good on the invasion hardpoint. They were able to win the high rise control. Diamond Khan had a very nice 1v2 clutch, ripping Simp out of the back building, then throwing a good detonate to keep Cellium in place, killing Cellium back on that back orange tractor and defusing the bomb just with a little bit of time to spare. And they end up winning in a map 5 where Diamond Khan did, in fact, go huge 13-5.
Sheesh.
Overall, though, this series, the story for me was like, I'm sure he's had worse series, but like in numbers wise, it doesn't look the worst. Like he still did have 14,000 damage and he had a 0.8, but that's like some of the worst I remember Abezy playing. He just looked uncomfortable. He wasn't like getting the normal aggressive pushes like we like to see from him. Like his engagements were, I mean, in this series, his engagements were not that much higher than Cellium's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Uh, like Simp broke the kill record in the series and they lost.
Yeah. I did see that it was the first time two players in the series went over 100 kills or at 100 kills
Yeah,
on either team.
which shout out to Estriel. I mean, this team is just not good. LAG. This win doesn't change that, and I do think it was a little bit of a map pool test from Faze, and I don't read much into this match. But Estriel has played some good teams recently, like against LAT. I believe he had an okay series, unless I'm thinking of the wrong series. He had a 0.9. It's not the best, but who did he play? He just played. They played a decent team. Was it against NYSL where Estriel also played like okay? He had a 0.93 and had the highest damage, so maybe not the best, but like overall against these top teams, he's been at least hanging in there. And like in this
Mm-hmm.
series, he drops a 1.2 and like you said, 100 kills, almost gets close to the kill record against a team like Faze, regardless of if they're trying maps or not.
Yeah.
he looks like a pretty good player. I don't trust LAG to do anything, and to me, this series really doesn't mean a whole lot. Like I'm not concerned with Faze. I think they were testing stuff, but it is a little concerning to see Abezy look so bad, even though they were testing maps. Just because, like I said, it was the most uncomfortable I feel like I've watched Abezy look in quite some time.
Yeah, he wasn't getting those kills like I'm so used to getting.
Yeah, and I don't know. I still feel pretty confident in saying that. I
Yeah,
think Faze is going to make some noise this weekend.
on
Uh,
land they'll be fine. I will say if LAG can somehow with whatever management is left or whatever can make a change for Assault, we need it so bad because this team could be a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, they do have players like Fame has his moments where he looks pretty good. Diamond Khan also has moments where he looks pretty good, and so does Estrio. Like those three players have enough flashes where they look decent. Assault is just not it for this team. But unfortunately, I don't even know if it's worth it to call for roster changes because like we don't even know if they have the staff to do it or the money to do it.
Yeah,
Which is so sad that we're in a state of the league where like we just know one team can make a roster change and maybe become like if LAG made a roster change for Assault and got a pretty good main AR in there, I feel like they would be a contender to make champs.
yeah,
Right now, the way they're sitting, they're just not.
because the other three usually have pretty okay stat lines besides here and there a bad game, but Assault I feel like is consistently just like 0.7, 0.6,
Yeah.
0.8.
I mean, like I think he was like signaling that at the end of the series, but like he was like, I did nothing the final three maps. You guys just carried, and I was like, yeah, he legit like almost did nothing in the final three maps.
Yeah, it seems like every time I watch him on Control, he's always like 6 and like 18, 6 and 19.
Yeah, it's tough out there for him. They do have a
Mhm.
chance to get a win in this major though, Brock. You know why?
Why is that?
They are likely to play LAT in losers round
Oh,
one, and we know, despite what just happened, they do own that matchup.
they do own us. Things are going up for them.
Um, Brock, I don't even want to talk about the next series. Seattle Surge,
Sales Search
they are horrible.
sucks.
They're horrible. They're horrible. They got 3-0'd. I feel bad because you know what? I feel bad because I know they were kind of probably forced to make a roster change with the Illy situation, and I don't care what people say and how terrible these players in this team looks. The names on this team are not like this should not be the worst team in the league, undoubtedly. Like Arcitys, I don't care what people think about him now. He's a two-time world champ that's won plenty of events. He's a good player.
hmm
Brezzy, I know it's looked rough for him. He got thrown into a terrible situation for himself. He's a very talented player.
Yep.
Hook, it goes without saying. We all know how talented of a player Hook is. And Abuza, he was not the best player in challengers last year by accident. Like the
hmm
kid's got a lot of talent. Like these are four players that have a lot of individual skill, talent, accolades for some of them. Uh, it was just they're all thrown into terrible situations. They're playing from Vancouver. It's just like they're thrown into awful situations. So I do feel that like they're probably going through some stuff right now because I do think these players are individually good, but as a unit right now, they are just horrible.
Yep. Not going well for them.
And I will say, funny enough, if their teamwork somehow could just like click with the gun skill and talent I believe this team could have, it's like maybe they can make a run because if like they play Vegas, it's like I know they're absolutely horrible, but just with the vet players like Hook and Arcitys, I'm like trying to talk myself into the fact that they could potentially make a run. And the way you do it is like, well, if they somehow upset Legion in the first round, they do get to play the winner of Carolina, Miami.
hmm
And it's like, okay, Carolina and Miami are both very beatable. Like they're the only other teams down at that level. So, all of a sudden you win that, and then you play the winner of the bottom half of the bracket, or the loser, which would probably be Faze or Subliners, and then they quickly get stomped out. But if you somehow think they can beat Legion, you can probably talk yourselves into them beating Carolina / Miami as well. And like, there's actually a weird world where Surge get top 6 somehow, and it makes no sense because they're definitely the worst team right now.
Yeah. Well, we hope they do. They turn around within the major.
Mm-hmm. Give us some entertaining maps at least. Then the
Yep.
final match of the weekend, Brock, was certainly the one to watch.
It was a good one, like we predict, basically.
Yeah, we predicted kind of a bang out series. Hard to predict who won. Looked like it was potentially a 3-0 on the cards. New York won two very close maps. They definitely weren't blowouts by any means. It was 250 to 224 and a 6-4. Looked like they were potentially on deck for a 3-0 sweep. Then OpTic fights back. Dashy with a nice map 3. They 3-0 on Karachi. OpTic behind Pred has a big map 4 to force the game 5. Then the Dashy flank 2-piece top red on Karachi Search and Destroy in round 11 to
hmm
win it. Shotzi with a 12 and 6 pop off. I saw Shotzi as like a 1.6 or something in and map 5s this year, playing very well there. But
Jeez.
Dashy and Shotzi were the duo in map 5 to close this one
Yep.
out.
Shotzi in their spawn in like the first 5 seconds somehow.
Yeah.
Knowing the crap out of them.
Yeah. It was a very good series, honestly. I leave this series feeling that I have a good handle on both these teams. Like I thought, I leave this series thinking New York, they're very good. Like I thought they were. I mean, you lose a tight series with a bunch of tight maps uh, to a team like OpTic. It's like, okay, like what do I want to take away from this? You know,
Mm-hmm.
like, do you want me to take something like terrible away from this somehow? I don't know how you could because like sometimes you're just going to lose 3-2 to some good teams when you're a good team. Like it's going to happen.
Yep. Just the nature of the game.
I will say once again on the side of OpTic, like I said, no negative takeaways from New York. I still feel very confident in New York. I feel good enough about them that I could pick them to win the major. I think they're a very good team.
Mm-hmm.
They're clearly in our top 4. I still think I do put them as our 4th team. And that's not a knock because with the way the top 4 is this year, they could shift all over the place. And even though I think I'm putting New York as our 4th best team, I would not be shocked to see them win the event. And it's way different than normally saying a team isn't 4th. Because usually
Yep.
when you say a team's 4th, the difference between them and 1 is pretty major. But to me, I say they're 4th. But if you tell me like New York's your 2nd best team, I'd be like, yeah, okay, that's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're all super close to each other.
Uh, what I was going to say though is for the side of OpTic, once again, I continue to take away some pretty big positives. You and I always talk about it as people who have watched COD for a long time. OpTic have won a ton of events, obviously, especially through the dynasty. But one thing it always seems like OpTic seems to be the team that loses in just like the craziest ways,
Mm-hmm.
or like they can't seem to get it done in certain situations. A lot of times, historically, an OpTic has been their search and destroy. It was even earlier this year. They were having some game 5 troubles. They were having some troubles in search at the major, even though they were looking good in respawns. This series, once again, another reverse sweep against a good team, another round 11 clutch in search and destroy. And Brock, that scoreboard of the overall series, I
I
know
love
you're going
it.
to say the same thing. It looks perfect. And people are going to be like, well, they had 0.98, a 0.99, a 0.99, and another 0.96. Nobody was positive. You know why that's so good? The damage across the board is very even. The trades are there. The kills and deaths are pretty much even across the board. Obviously, there's like a 10 difference between like Kenny and Dashy and Shotzi, but like they're all going even. They're working their trades. Everybody's playing for each other. Like you could see the teamwork on display throughout the series as well. But when you look at a scoreboard like that, it shows that a team is probably, clicking pretty well when everybody's around a 1 and roughly around the same engagements. They're probably playing pretty well as a team together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did it. They get outslayed and still, they come back and win in the game 5. And I that's probably the closest we ever seen all the 4 players on a team's KD so close together.
Yeah, they're literally like almost identical. They're like Dashy's 2 negative, Kenny's 1 negative, Pred's 1 negative, Shotzi's 3 negative. It's like they're all right there. And like on the side of New York, Sib did have a very good series
Mm-hmm.
with 18,000 damage, almost 19,000 damage, a 1.17. But everybody on the side of New York, once again, like did their job, played pretty well. I mean, like you see a 0.91 from Skies, and you might think like, oh, but Skies doing his job, what he's there to do. Once again, I'm not going to talk negative about either of these teams. I think they're both very, very, very good. I do like, however, what I see out of OpTic just because they do go 7-0 on the split, and like I don't know, they're just winning games in ways that I'm not used to seeing OpTic win them, if that makes sense. Like OpTic usually is the one that's getting reverse swept or like trolling a game 5 round 11, and now they're coming through and they're getting some of these wins that you're not used to seeing out of them.
Mm-hmm. It seems like they found more ice.
Yeah. All right, Brock, you ready to just do our predictions? I'm looking at the site. CDL somehow still has not uploaded the bracket, so might have to just go ahead and we'll just kind of talk through our predictions, run through them a little quicker since you won't be able to see them on the screen as easily. But I think you usually go first, so I can make my predictions first, kind of run through them. We can say map counts quick. We can talk through our thoughts a little bit, but probably
Mm-hmm.
try to just like run through the bracket a little quicker since we don't have the actual bracket to fill out. Thank you, CDL.
Yep. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Um,
Yeah,
all
you can
right.
go. You can go first since technically I got the team right last time.
Yeah, you did win I won the qualifier, but you won the one that mattered. You definitely did. Regardless of what points, I think that's kind of how it goes. Like regardless of what the points say for your picks, if you pick the winner, you pretty much automatically win
Hmm.
the major tournament. And you picked Toronto. I picked Faze. I think we both had Toronto versus Faze in the final.
I
Um,
believe so.
and then I just ended up picking Faze. You picked Toronto, so you were right on that one. I will go first. Obviously, there's no like restrictions on this. Like you can pick whoever you want. It doesn't affect who I pick.
Hmm.
I like the way that the winners bracket did shape up, though. We talked about it a little bit. I do like that the top four are all split up into different matches. It does give us a chance to have that top four, alive in the winners bracket come Saturday when those matches come up.
Hmm.
OpTic versus Heretics, Brock. The Florida Mutineers curse was broken at Major 1. OpTic was able to get over the hump and beat them in winners bracket pretty handily. I think they do it again. I think OpTic's going to take out Miami 3-0. Then Ultra versus Legion. To me, I see upset potential. I can see a narrative for upset potential in the rest of the three series. I just don't see a way Miami beats OpTic. The only way is like home crowd buff goes crazy and somehow they come out and win.
Yeah.
Um, Other than that, I just don't really see a way. This is the least likely upset in the first round to me because they're clearly the worst team in winners bracket.
Hmm.
So for once, the one seed actually was a benefit for for the team that got it. They definitely are playing clearly the worst team up here in winners bracket. But then Toronto versus Vegas. To me, maybe the number one upset candidate series, as weird as that sounds, as good as Toronto is. Vegas is definitely our best team of the 5 through 8 seeds, if not maybe Thieves. But I think there's definitely upset potential here. I really wanted to pick it, but it's just hard to do so. I do think Toronto is going to be able to get it done. I think they're going to get it done in a game 5, though. I think we're going to see like a game 5 round 10 win
Oh,
for
I
the
like
Toronto
it.
Ultra, and they go on to play OpTic, which leaves us Subliners Breach. Once again, I do see the narrative for an upset here. It's pretty clear to anybody who watches COD. It's the Priesta versus Old Team. Boston got slammed when they played New York online, but the narrative's always there. You do have players like Slasher and Priesta and Asim on land. They are veteran players that could pull off an upset. I think this is another game 5, and I think the New York Subliners do end up taking it, but I think Boston's going to give them a lot better series than they did on LAN. Lowest series down here in the winners bracket, it's Atlanta Faze, it's Los Angeles Thieves. Uh, to me, the second most unlikely upset is this series. I just don't see a world where Faze are going to lose right away. They pretty much don't do that ever in winners round 1.
Hmm.
I think we have another 3-0 on our hands. I think the Search and Destroy will be pretty close, like a game or like a round 10, round 11. But I do think Faze will handle the respawns pretty easily and win 3-0. So then down in the losers bracket, Carolina versus Miami. The best draw Carolina could get. They take it. They beat Miami 3-1. Then we've got Surge playing against the Legion. I like the Legion to win this one, maybe start their little bit of a losers bracket run. I think they take out the Surge 3-0. Surge don't win a map at the major. Traveling all the way from Vancouver down to Miami, did not win a
Hmm.
map. Tough trip.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. Then Boston goes on to play Minnesota. Do I think Accuracy and the boys can make a little bit of a run? I unfortunately don't. I think Boston is going to take out Minnesota in a 3-2. That is a tough match for me to predict because I do think the winner of that, I'm likely going to pick to move on to top 6. So
Hmm.
I think that could be a place where my bracket really gets hurt if I pick the wrong team, but I'm picking Boston to take out Minnesota in a 3-2 fashion. Um,
Like it.
the Battle of LA winds up with LAT taking it again for the second time in a row. I think they beat them 3-0. No, I'm going to give LAG a map, probably 3-1. So then we got, I'll do the losers round 2 really quick. We've got the Carolina Royal Ravens versus the Vegas Legion. Vegas take them out 3-0. Move on to the top 6. Then we've got the Boston Breach versus the LA Thieves. Boston takes them down 3-2. Close game 5. I feel like that's an upset for people. People definitely have LA Thieves ahead of them, but I like Boston on land.
Hmm.
First major with ASIM. I'll be interested to see it. They move on to the top 6. Back up to winners bracket. I know this is getting confusing for you guys listening. OpTic versus Toronto. Close series. OpTic was able to take them out in a Nesla fashion online. I think OpTic's actually going to take them out 3-1 here. I think OpTic's going to come out firing. I think they're going to win all the respawns. Somehow, some way. I know it's a weird prediction. I know Toronto's bad at search. It's just a gut feeling I have. OpTic somehow going to lose the search to Toronto, who's struggling in search right now, but win all the respawns. They're going to beat Toronto 3-1. And then Faze, subliners play. Faze are going to beat the subliners. They're going to beat them in a 3-2 fashion. A close series to me. Probably the best series of the weekend up to this point. I think Faze takes out subliners 3-2, which then in the top part of our losers bracket puts Vegas versus the subliners. They kind of flip the bracket there. It's confusing since I can't fill it out, but it's Vegas, subliners, and I think subliners take out Vegas 3-1. Vegas run to top 6 ends there. And then we've got Toronto versus the Boston Breach. Toronto's going to handle them 3-0.
Yeah.
Loser semis leaves us with Toronto versus New York. The hardest part of the bracket to predict, in my opinion, because you have to knock out one of these teams' top 4 that just feels wrong because you know you could be knocking out the winner.
Yeah.
In 4th place. I think it's going to be a weird one, Brock. I think Toronto's going to lose it. Our major 1 champions are going to finish 4th. I think New York's going to beat them in a game 5, which leaves us with Faze and OpTic in the winners final.
Oh, it's a great match.
I think OpTic's going to beat them. Going to get their revenge. They've not been able to beat Faze this year. Obviously, had their number in the past few years. OpTic's going to beat them in a game 5. A lot of game 5s coming up on Sunday. Knocking Faze down to the losers final against New York, where Faze will bow out and miss a final for the first time in a while, since last champs, I guess. New York's going to get the best of them again in a losers final, just like champs last year, and beat them in a game 5. And we have a New York versus OpTic final, where OpTic wins 4-2. And I think OpTic's going to end up taking this major. I feel okay about it. Don't feel great. And the reason I feel even less okay is because of the fact that if I do have them coming through winners bracket, it's an undefeated run. And that is something crazy to think that OpTic could have an undefeated run. I just feel like right now, the way they're winning series, I like their balance in search and destroy over Toronto and the fact they have a win over them. To me, the team that scares me the most for them is I'm scared of subliners the most. Like if they end up playing subliners in the final, like I have the prediction, I am scared for them that subliners could definitely take them out. I don't know. I'm obviously scared of Faze in Toronto as well. Like any of these top 4 teams could beat each other. And I do think your brackets are bound to fail heavily because of the fact that the top 4 are all split up in winners round 1. Because it's very easy for whoever you pick as your winner. If you pick obviously one of those 4, it's very easy for your winner to be in losers round 2, like very quickly. If you just happen to get that round 2 matchup wrong, but I'm picking OpTic to win it 4-2 in the final over New York.
I like it. Guess we'll see how your bracket plays out.
Yeah, I'm curious to see who you have winning it because I'm going to assume I can narrow it down to 4 teams, like we say, but I'm curious to see how you have it working out. I can help you go through who's matching up because, like we said, these people just can't seem to upload a bracket, so it's a little confusing.
They can't click a button. It'll seem impossible.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yep. Oh man. All right. Texas versus Miami Heretics. Yeah, it's a 3-0. They don't have Dave Patty. That's all I gotta say.
True.
Dave Patty retired, by the way, too.
Yeah, sad. R.I.P. We love Dave Patty here.
Dave Petty stands. All right. Oh man. Toronto versus the Legion. Man, I wish the Legion would play not Toronto out of these teams. Because I want the Legion to do good.
I forgot to say that in mine. I 100% agree with you. I wish Legion were able to, but I don't know because like I feel like they just like I feel like Toronto's a team that just like of all of our top teams. Like I did say, I think they have upset potential over them, the Legion, but I feel like they're the team of all the top teams that I trust them and Faze. You know what I mean? Like I trust Toronto and Faze to always beat the lower teams. I can see OpTic in New York trolling.
Yeah.
Against a bad team. So that's why I wish Legion was playing like New York, which I still think New York would beat them. But like, I don't know. I want Legion to be able to make a run because they're like fun. I don't know.
Yeah, they're definitely, they're up on the up and fun to watch.
Yeah. All right, keep going. Sorry.
With that being said, I'm picking a close maps for each one of them, and 3-1 Toronto Ultra, and Vegas can have the search just like the online qualifiers they played. And then I'm picking a 3-0 versus Breach.
Okay.
Subliners, yeah. I don't
Priestess,
know.
no revenge for him.
Yeah, no revenge. It just seems like Boston, all of the players have to do really good at all one time to match their talent on subliners, which I just seems like that never happens for Boston. They're all clicking.
Okay.
And I picked a 3-0 versus a Faze versus these 3-0 because Faze just top tier.
All right.
And then it's the Ravens versus Heretics. Yeah.
Yep.
Carolina. I'm picking 3-0. Carolina. Heretics, we'll see a bunch later.
Okay.
And then Legion plays Seattle Surge. Seattle Surge is pretty garbage. Yeah, I'm doing another 3-0. I was thinking about giving them map, but I just fly to Vancouver, get 3-0, then go back. Thank you very much.
That's pain.
Yep. And now Accuracy's Minnesota Rocker against the Breach. They've been just so bad. So it's so sad to see.
You're not wrong there.
And Boston struggles sometimes too, but I think Boston will bounce back in a 3-2 game 5 fashion.
Okay. You have them beat Minnesota like I do as well.
Yep. And then I will pick the Thieves to win against the LAG 3-1. LAG comes out and wins the map 1.
Okay. I like it. I think we went the same on all of our obviously different map counts and stuff, but I think we went the same on all of our picks, which is it's rare.
Yeah. It
All
is
right.
rare, but it's definitely possible.
Let's go with your losers round 2. So your Carolina versus Legion.
Oh man. I'm gonna pick a 3. Oddly enough, I think it's a close maps. I'm gonna pick a game 5, and Vegas takes the cake and wins it in the game 5. Not round 11, but maybe round 10, round 9.
I don't hate a game 5. I know I don't think I picked it, but now that you say it, that series does just like I don't know why it has like a game 5 feel. Carolina versus Vegas has a game 5 feel to it with the players and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Clay versus Attach, yeah.
Yep. Carolina usually plays a lot better on land than online.
Mhm. I like
Yep.
that. Then you got bottom half you got Boston versus LAT.
Boston versus LAT. I'm gonna pick LAT to win. 3-1. 3-1.
Okay. I
Don't
don't
know
mind
why.
it.
Just having a feeling about LAT.
I don't mind it. That leaves you with the top 4 in the winners bracket, Brock. OpTic versus Toronto.
Man. I'm gonna go game 5 because I want a game 5. First off, oh man, it's just tough to pick. 2 good teams. I do think, like you said, OpTic will take it. Game 5, and OpTic ices up again.
Okay. And you got Faze subliners on the bottom half of the winners bracket.
Mm-hmm. Faze subliners. It's hard to go against Faze. I'm gonna pick Faze in a game 5 as well.
Okay.
Two close matches because these top 4 always are close.
Brock, our bracket's about to come down to map counts pretty soon if we pick everything the same. All
I know. Hopefully, maybe I'll change it up. See how this goes.
right. Let's jump down to your losers bracket then. That leaves you with Vegas versus New York.
Vegas versus New York. You know what? I'm picking Vegas, baby.
Oh,
Game
wow. New
5.
York bowing out top 6.
Attach ices up. Attach goes crazy the whole series, and they win in a
Hey,
3-2
I don't hate it.
fashion. Yep.
Okay. I don't hate it. And that then leaves you with Toronto versus LAT on the
Yeah.
bottom half.
I'm sorry, LAT, but you're about to get curb stomped 3-0 by
Yeah.
Toronto. We'll see you later.
Saw that one coming.
Yep.
All right, Brock. Then in your loser semi, that leaves you with Vegas, Toronto, a rematch of winners round 1, where you said it was going to be a close 3-2, close
hmm
maps.
I do think this is where Vegas, kind of runs out of gas, and it's a 3-1. Toronto Ultra gets it done.
Okay, I like it. I would have been pretty shocked if you picked Vegas there. That leaves you with OpTic versus Faze in your winners final. Winner goes to the grand final.
Man. So, I don't know. This is so 2 teams. Well, game 5, I would assume game 5, and I think Faze pulls it out in the end.
I don't hate it. They were before this loss to LAG, and when they were testing maps, they were on a crazy win streak, like approaching the map win streak record. Like there's because of that loss to LAG, I feel like people might be like sleeping on them a little bit, but they're still scary.
Mm-hmm. All right, and
Leaves you with
then
Toronto versus OpTic, chance to go to the finals in the line.
Toronto versus OpTic. Game 5, because why not? I'm gonna pick Ultra to squeeze it out in around 11, and that's where OpTic bows out.
Okay, so that leaves you with a rematch
Mm-hmm.
of last finals. Faze versus Toronto. It is flipped though because Toronto was coming from winners bracket last time.
Yep. I
And
do
Faze coming from
think.
winners bracket this time.
Yep. I think it'll be two good matches. 4-3. FaZe pulls it out and wins, and the LEG they lost to it does not matter, and it's in the grave.
Okay, you think Faze is finally able to close out? They've been struggling to close out finals as of late. You think they're able to close it out here?
I do think they'll be able to close it out, and my MVP will be of the matches, or not the matches, the championship will be definitely Simp because he is disgusting.
Oh yeah, I like that. That's if Faze wins, I 100% agree with you. Simp will be the MVP. I forgot to pick my MVP.
Mm-hmm.
I have OpTic winning, so it has to come from them. I think it's gonna be Pred.
Not
OpTic
Kenny.
wins. I think it's Pred. What do you say?
Not Kenny.
I wish. I hope Kenny wins it. I'll be voting for him if they have a vote. No
Yeah.
matter what, he could have dropped 0.7. I'll vote for him. I don't care.
Yeah. Just we love Kenny.
But I don't know. I feel like if OpTic wins, it's probably going to come down to the fact that Pred probably was dropping like a 1.2
Mm-hmm.
over the course of the weekend. I do think just like any tournament, it's going to be a full team effort if they win. Obviously, everybody's going to have probably pretty good numbers. I think Shotzi's going to have his pop off moments. I think Dashy's going to have his moments. I think Kenny's going to have his moments. But just the way this team is set up, when it comes down to it, a lot of times what matters is your KD on the tournament to win MVP. Let's be honest. It mostly comes down to how your numbers look
Mm-hmm.
in terms of how you win MVP. And this team is set up in general for Pred to put up the big numbers. Shotzi is kind of, doing a little bit more entry work, a little bit more routes, a little more dirty work. Dashy playing a little bit slower for this team. Kenny, once again, a lot more of the IGL dirty work, and Pred's kind of just set up to just go around and get kills.
Yep.
So I think it's going to lead to Pred having the best numbers, and I think that's why Pred will probably bring home the major MVP when OpTic hoists the trophy. But I agree with you. If it was to be FaZe, I 100% think Simp would win it. If Toronto wins it, I think they'll probably give it to Scrap.
Yeah.
And if New York wins it, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Sib is going to win MVP if New York wins it.
I like it. I do hope if your picks are right and OpTic does win it, I hope Shotzi gets the MVP. So Hecz and stop being about.
That would be hilarious. Oh, did you see that clip today? People were like talking about the flank and like how like
Is it the
they're like
most
the flank.
improved?
No, no, not the most improved thing. It was I ended up listening to the whole flank and I heard it was like towards the end of the show. It was like people were like the flank has just become Hecz gaslighting Ben. It was the craziest thing. Like it was the craziest gaslight clip I've ever seen. It was like Hecz was talking about OpTic and he's like, I just don't have faith. I still have OpTic as my fourth best team. I think New York's ahead of them as the third best team because he's like, I think every player except Pred. These are literally, this is important. His exact words were every player on OpTic is gets worse on LAN except Pred. And then Octane like made a crazy face, like what? Like what? And then eventually Octane interrupted. It was like, you think Kenny gets worse on LAN? And then Hecz literally, and then like Ben starts roasting him. He's like, yeah, like what are you saying? Like that's a terrible take. And then Hecz just goes, I didn't say anybody gets worse on LAN. And then everybody was like, you just said that. Like and Hecz or Ben was like, here comes the backtrack. Here comes the backtrack. He's backpedaling. He's like, I never said that. I just said Pred's the only one that gets better. And like literally 10 seconds earlier, he literally said everybody on OpTic except Pred gets worse on LAN. And then when they called him out, he was like, wait, no, I didn't say that. I just said that Pred's the only one that gets better. And then he like tried to gaslight him into believing that like Ben had listening issues and couldn't listen properly. So he couldn't understand what Pat was saying. But literally Ben heard him perfectly, and like Octane heard him perfectly, and they called him out, and he's like, "No, you guys have listening issues." He just tried to gaslight everybody. It was a hilarious clip.
Oh, that's aches for you there, though.
Yeah, which I think is so funny. We told this story, but like when I was in California for Black Ops 4 Champs, I met Aches in a Whole Foods. Like it was after one of the days. It was after like Friday, maybe. He was playing units, that unit squad with like Rated and Joe the next day.
Hmm.
It was actually ended up being the match. I actually, funny enough, I said, "You're gonna smoke units tomorrow" at the end of the conversation to him, and I think they got 3-0 stomped. Aches got 3-0 stomped. And it was that match where like Gunless switched teams on accident
Oh yeah.
when he had a streak.
Yep.
But that's what I find so funny because people like Aches is so good at what he does. Like he doesn't believe half the takes he says about OpTic or half the takes he says in general. He just likes to like stir the pot and get clicks and get views. He's so good at what he does. And I think
Hmm.
it's so funny because people hate him and think he's like this monster. Like I met him, talked to him for a while in Whole Foods, and he's just the nicest dude. Like
Yep. He's
he's
just a
not the
troll.
coolest dude. He's just a troll. He's a cool dude. Just like so normal, so chill. Like the conversation we had was actually more about like basketball and the NBA and sports because it was like that champs was obviously just following like a finals. I forget what finals it even was that year, but like uh, we literally just like talked about sports a little bit. Talked to Lil Cod. It was like maybe a minute conversation, but cool dude, nice
Hmm.
dude. Like I just think it's so funny that people allow themselves to get so mad at his very clear trolls, but he's damn good at what his job is in the flank.
Hmm. And you know, it's good to stir the pot up, like you said.
It gets clicks. It gets views for them over there.
Hmm. Most definitely.
And when he has to break it down, I think everybody knows that Pat Aches, he knows what he's talking about when it comes to COD. He's won a couple times.
Yeah. I only thing I wonder, does he watch the online matches a lot? That's what I wonder.
I don't know because like I know like during the week like he's working at Ubisoft, on X Defiant and everything. So like I don't know that he's like watching a ton of the online matches, especially like the Friday ones and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I know he's pretty busy with that, and like sometimes they ask him like literally on the flank when he says stuff like, "Do you watch the matches?" And he's like, "Yeah, of course, of course." I don't know.
Yeah.
Either way,
Yeah.
when he sits down and watches COD, he knows what to talk about. He knows what's going on because obviously, dude's won like 20 championships, couple rings. He knows what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm. Well, most definitely. I was gonna say one last thing. What was his gimmick? 3 years, 3 million for GM spot or something.
Yeah, he always says that. Like, if you want me to come be the GM of your team, I need 3 years, 3 mil.
That's so funny.
Yeah, that's hilarious. It's a good gimmick.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely.
All right, you got anything else before we wrap it up, Brock?
Um, no, just major two pick'em on the website is not up yet. So that's about it.
Yeah,
Excited
it's
for the
unreal.
major. Hopefully, we see a lot of game fives with the top four teams because I love seeing who likes the pressure more. Other than that, about to play some ranked play here in a bit. Get out of my day.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds like a good plan. All right. If you guys enjoy this one, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you're on the audio platforms, drop a follow, drop a 5-star review. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoy watching the major. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be an eventful major. Honestly, my biggest hope is that somebody that isn't one of our top four teams makes it to Sunday. I think it's going to make it really fun. To
Mm-hmm.
be honest, you know what? To me, the dream is, Brock.
Yep.
I hope a team that's not one of our top four teams is in the winners final on Sunday. I have pretty much zero faith that that's going to happen. I just don't see a world where somehow um like our top four teams, like two of them aren't in the winners final. But like my dream is for Sunday for the tournament is that one of the not top four teams is in winners final somehow, just to like shake things up and make it chaotic.
Yeah. You know, uh, why not just like have all four teams somehow just get don't make the winners. Don't make a Friday Sunday at all.
Oh my god, can you imagine? Our top four is like Seattle,
Oh.
LAG, Miami, and like Vegas or something. That would actually, to be honest, I don't want that. I don't want that terrible Call of Duty being played on Sunday.
Yeah, it'd be so bad. It'd be so funny to watch and to see who wins.
Also, the takes. The takes after the weekend would just be insane.
Uh-huh. That'd be this
There are
insane.
there are times in COD history where you can maybe see that happening, but like there is like actually 0% chance that at least 2 of our top 4 teams. Like in the craziest scenario I could possibly imagine, I would still think at least 2 of them would make Sunday.
Yeah,
Because
100%.
I mean, think about the way we're talking it. We're thinking it's insane if one of them doesn't make it. That's like got to be the most top heavy top 4 we've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
we're like thinking it's mind blowing if somebody doesn't make it. Where before it'd be like, I'd be surprised, if these 4 teams didn't make it, but it wasn't like shocking. Like you could pick it. Now it's like if one of these top 4 doesn't make it, we are mind blown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. True, true, true.
All right. That's gonna do it for this one though. We like we said, hope you guys enjoy watching the major this weekend, and we will see you next week with reactions to the majors. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.